Hi everyone, I'm Miller Booker B. I wanted to share this video. I saw that there are a lot of new interactions within BT7 that are pretty common, and I wanted to kind of go over them. Some of these might be things you're very familiar with, some of these might be a little bit more strange. Not all of these are, if you've been playing the game for a while, you might have seen a lot of these, but if that's the case, you can go check out the timestamps in the descriptions and jump to a topic you need more information on. Before we begin, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my good friend Digitamer Joel, who kind of inspired me to make this video, and I will leave a link to his channel in the description below. Anyway, let's get started. Here's some common interactions that you might run into in BT7. So first off, when we're reading Digimon cards, there's a couple rule of thumbs we want to follow. Digimon cards are very precise in their meanings. They will say exactly what they intend to do. You could try and activate as much as a card as possible. This is very common in a lot of cards. A good example is Davis. As Davis says, you need to add a blue and green Digimon. However, you only need to add a blue Digimon if that's all you can see. You do not need to meet all of the requirements. As long as you can meet some of the requirements, they will try to activate as much of that as possible. And then finally, inherited effects become part of the top Digimon in the stack. So the inherited effects are not a part of the Digimon that they're on. They're part of the top level. So if it's a level 6 Digimon with 4 inheritables, all of those inheritable effects are part of that level 6 Digimon. The first kind of effects we want to talk about are colorblind effects. These are cards that don't specify a color. Very common in the hybrid searchers. You might have noticed Bokomon. Bokomon can add any kind of hybrid and any kind of tamer, but this is common across a lot of effects. Most hybrid searchers have some kind of color blindness to them. Zoe can grab any hybrid. Strawbymon and Flamemon can grab any hybrid. Beetlemon, Flamemon, and Strawbymon can grab any hybrid. However, the color blindness isn't across the board. They specify for tamers that they need to grab a specific kind of tamer, where Strawbymon and Flamemon from BT4 need to grab a red or blue tamer. Beetlemon, Flamemon, and Strawbymon need to grab their respective specific tamer for their archetype. Color blindness also applies to other kinds of effects. Cherubimon can grab any kind of rookie. This applies to the new yellow Cherubi base, which is very common in this format. It's one of the reasons it works. The Schwartz laser, this purple option that a lot of yellow hybrid runs to capitalize off their multitude of tamers, does not care what color of tamers you have. And then Koji and Takuya's Warp Digivolve effect, you can splash these cards in other colors if you want, because they do not specify that they need red or blue hybrid cards. They can grab any kind of hybrid cards and put them into the source, which is really helpful. The red one more so than the blue one, but they open up deck building options in a lot of unique ways. The next kind of effects I want to talk about are lingering effects on Digimon. So if a card states a Digimon gains something, such as DP or an effect, it basically keeps all of those changes even if it becomes a new Digimon. So a good example is we have Kendo Garurumon here. Kendo Garurumon says if you Digivolve over a hybrid or Koji, you gain jamming for the turn. If you were to evolve that Kendo into a Beowulfmon, for example, at least until the end of the turn, the Beowulfmon will retain that jamming effect, which is really useful for helping getting clean swings and using his effect to recycle the resources and bounce your opponent's Digimon. The next thing I want to kind of clarify is stuff between memory blockers versus cost reduction blockers. These are very common effects this format. They're very great floodgates against certain kinds of effects. But the key I want to talk about here is this text on the memory blockers that says, except with tamer effects. Because of this text, it doesn't stop memory blockers, but the other cards, the cost reduction blockers, do not have this text, which means they don't only stop things like hybrids level 5s, they also stop other tamers. So JP and Nokia cannot activate the reduction effects if these cards are on the field. And if we get future support, future tamers that reduce Digivolution cost, these cards will stay relevant in those against those types of cards. Next, I want to talk about auras. Some cards create what is like an aura type effect. This means that it lingers and affects Digimon not even in play yet. So the two most common you're going to see this format are from Ice Wall and Atomic Inferno. Ice Wall, the lose 2 memory effect, applies to even if you Digivolve into a hybrid or Smoothing or Raising Gear, all the Digimon are affected. And then Atomic Inferno's security effect affects all future Digimon in play, will give them extra damage. Zephyrmon is here because most effects that increase the power of your own security are a aura effect that affects all security Digimon. The keyword you're looking for when you're looking for any kind of aura effect is the keyword all, because in Digimon, when they say all of the type of card, it means anything that's, even if it's not in play yet. This is very different than a card like Alphamon. Alphamon's effect is not an aura. As you can see, Alphamon specifies up to 12 of your opponent's Digimon. If a card mentions a specific number or selects a specific Digimon, that is not an aura. It targets something that is on the field and is not an aura and will not apply to future Digimon in play. The next thing I want to talk about is security plus an amount effects, how security plus works. The best way to think about it is it works kind of like increasing a stat, as if you're increasing level, play cost, DP. Security plus works just like those kinds of effects. If it goes down in the middle of the check, it will apply whatever the new stat of that effect is. So the example we have here, we have our Ancient Greymon with a bunch of hybrid sources swinging to security. It will do a first check. It wasn't relevant. However, the second check, we're going to reveal a Tommy. And Tommy will come into play, activate its effect, removing the 3 sources from Ancient Greymon. This means that Ancient Greymon's effect to gain extra security attack, its stat went from a +3 security to a +0 security, leaving at the lone 1 security check it started with. And because of this, it doesn't heal the effect back, even though it's lower than where we are before, as this is check number 2. It just stops immediately because we no longer have enough stats to keep pushing forward through the security. Next thing I want to talk about is a little bit of stuff from Calling from Darkness, and this is about effects versus costs. Calling from Darkness is allowed to be activated even if you cannot delete a Digimon. This is because of the way the text is worded. It says, do something, then something. A similar card that's worded like this is Blinding Ray. Trash top card of security, then gain 2 memory. The key is there's a stopping point, a period. So for Calling from Darkness, delete 1 of your Digimon, then return up to 2 purple Digimon. If you can meet the condition, you still have to meet it. But if you don't meet the condition, the first condition, you can still attempt to activate it. This is different than cards like Deathclaw or Yellow War Greymon. Deathclaw says you may delete 1 of your Digimon to delete 1 of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. And War Greymon states you may add the top card of your security stack to unsuspend this Digimon. The key word you're looking for this is do something to do something else. That means it is a cost. You need to meet that condition to attempt to activate this card. So keep that in mind when you're looking at cards in the future, the difference of effects and costs. Calling for Darkness comes up again. I want to talk about how on-deletion effects work. Now, this issue never came up until Calling from Darkness was a card. It has existed before with some niche cards here and there. To clarify, on-deletion effects must stay in the trash until they resolve. This is going to be very common in cards like Aizmon Scatter Mode or the Cherubimon. Something to note is the inheritable effects become a part of the main Digimon's effects. So if you have an inherited effect to Aizmon or Cherubimon, those cards can be removed from the trash, and you will still gain their effects and all of the effects because their effects became a part of the top Digimon. So here's an example of how that might play out. We are in a certain game state. We have swung with our Aizmon Scatter Mode. It did not die because Aizmon Scatter Mode has jamming for some reason. We play our Calling from Darkness, deleting our Aizmon Scatter Mode, sending it to our trash. So we're going to decide to add Aizmon Scatter Mode and Aizmon to our hand. In this situation, we will not be able to trigger Aizmon Scatter Mode's effect because Aizmon Scatter Mode was not in our trash when we tried to resolve the effect. However, let's take a step back. We're still going to add Aizmon, but this time we're going to add Gabumon to our hand. In this case, we were able to add Aizmon Scatter Mode's on-deletion effect as well as Gabumon's on-deletion effect, even though Gabumon is no longer in the trash. This works because Gabumon's effect became a part of Aizmon Scatter Mode's effect, as we stated before. So the entire effect is resolving Aizmon Scatter Mode's effect, even though the card text is on Gabumon. The final thing I want to talk about in this video is kind of one of the more strange interactions of this format is partial activation. Some cards, such as the 2 Warp Digimon Tamers, can attempt to activate their effects, pay the cost, and then choose not to activate the effect. This allows you to stack inheritable effects on a different Digimon outside of the reward target. So, let's say you wanted to just give a bunch of cost reduction or security attack to Aldermon instead of the Emperor Greymon. You could stack Takuya and choose not to warp Digivolve. I believe the reason this works is that you do not have to reveal if you have the target in your hand. So it allows you to perform this action despite not actually activating the full effect of Warp Digivolve. There's one more card this happens on, and I have absolutely no reason why this works. This is Suzanomon. You can reveal Suzanomon from your hand and pay his cost of putting 10 Hybrids or Tamers to the bottom of your deck, but then choose not to spend the 7 memory and not Digivolve it, and you just discard the card instead. I am not sure why this works, but it is been ruled by this way by Bandai, so if you, for some reason, are in a game, you want to grind the game out longer, but don't need your Suzanomon, you are allowed, in fact, to pay this cost. Anyway, I hope this video has been very helpful. Once again, this is one of my first videos I ever made. Please leave any feedback in the comment section below. I will really appreciate it, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope you learned something.